is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Champions Salon and Barber. Go to Champions salonandbarber.com. I'm due. I'm a little due. It's getting a little
Yeah, I don't know if
scraggly.
you should have,
I'm due. No, I'm due. I had lunch with a fellow Champions client today.
You guys shave each other?
No. Why would you do that?
I was just curious.
Then we go to Champions.
All right, we, by the way, have to say this on Fridays, that Paul's an angry, mean human being, and Fridays he's like a news dump on these top 5, so he doesn't have to deal with you until Monday.
Yeah.
But here we go.
All right. These are top 5 things to watch for this weekend. Number 5, does anyone have a letdown game? Coming off of big upsets. For example, Baylor, NC State, Michigan. I don't know if it's an upset, but Michigan's 4-0. Like they're kind of ready to do the Michigan thing lately. Does anyone have a letdown game?
I would sure hope for Baylor. I can't speak to the others, but I would sure hope for Baylor's sake they don't have a letdown game. I mean, top 25 on the road, evening time, hostile crowd, 5-0 start, and I don't know if it's a message they preach to the players because they have to do the whole one game at a time. But if you're the coaches or fans, you can't help but say, look, they win this game, it's all in front of them. As far as road trips and tough matchups, I mean, it all favors them after this weekend. So I would sure hope there's no letdown inside, especially after how close that call was last week.
Yeah. Number 4, can Cincy make all of South Bend cry? I mean, that's going to be tough to do. But
maybe
Big 12.
Maybe even Power 5s, although the Big 12 loves to see Cincinnati win. Maybe chaos. I know that they're thought of differently than some of the group of 5 because of what they've done lately, but that would be, they'd be like, we got to deal with them.
They're Cincy's actually a slight favorite depending on where you look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, them winning tomorrow is not out of the question. I think the problem comes in the fact that the game's, at South Bend or in South Bend, but I think can they make all South Bend cry? Yeah, they can. Will they? Now, I don't know about that, but yeah, they can for sure.
All right, number 3, how for real is Arkansas? And they're going to get their first real test. I think A&M, while they're a good team and a great defense, they have been exposed on offense. Colorado clearly exposed them. And so Arkansas, they had 2 big plays against A&M that were the difference in that game. 2 big plays. Georgia probably not going to allow that same kind of a thing. Can you keep it close? Can you make something happen? And Sam Pittman came off that Georgia staff.
But they punched people quickly. They did that to Texas, Florida. They couldn't recover. They did that with our A&M. And that's kind of maybe what their MO is. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're for real already just based on who they've beaten. Now, is for real in your mind like SEC champions? Then no, they're not quite for real there yet.
For real would be staying at this level in spite of the fact you're probably going to lose 1 or 2 games this year. Yeah. But can you probably 3? They might lose 3 games because they still have to play Alabama. They got
they could, yeah. I think tomorrow we'll learn a lot, but I think they're pretty for real, and how much we'll see. Yeah.
Here's something that you mentioned about if Baylor can win in Stillwater. Who knows? They could lose by 20, but if they win, they have a couple of legs up on everybody because of who they've beaten. What if Arkansas, although they've beaten A&M, who was one of the favorites, and then if they happen to shock the world and beat Georgia? How about that, right?
Yeah, they'd be in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. Number 2, can Lane be the first Saban disciple to dethrone him?
I'm not banking on it, but I do think it's going to be a hell of a football game because that style of offense has given Saban trouble in the past. We know he's not a huge fan of just all the offensive changes that have occurred over, the last few years. And even though the style is starting to go back to the defense, it's actually weird. Like the Big 12 is going more towards defense, and the SEC is still very much a defensive conference, but their offenses have opened up so much. So I think this is going to be a fascinating watch. And just Saban versus Kiffin in general has always got some underlying, humor or tension to it. So it would make sense for Lane to be the one to do it, wouldn't it? Of all the people who have tried, it would be Lane Kiffin that would do it. But I'm still going Bama. Like I said, though, I think it's a fascinating matchup with that Ole Miss offense.
23-0, right? Against former assistants,
Number 1, Coach's Hot Seats, and Matt Wells, Scott Frost in here. Matt Wells for sure. I'm going to throw a couple other names out there to you. Manny Diaz took another loss last night.
Man, we didn't talk about that game. Holy cow.
Miami came in ranked 14th. They're not the 14th ranked team in their own city. They're that bad. They're just so bad.
Miami-Dade is better. Miami-Dade
Northwestern.
They're having a rough go of it. Matt Wells is certainly on that. We're getting to the halfway point.
Yeah.
Florida State plays Syracuse this weekend. We already know about Mike Norvell. Syracuse has started out 3-1, but they haven't really played anybody yet. If Syracuse loses to an 0-4 Florida State team, if they're the first win, Dino Babers, his seat gets turned up because it was already hot as it starts out. So you're going to see a lot of things around the country this week where coaches' hot seats are going to start turned up a lot more.
Yeah, I checked out coach's hot seat. Scott Frost is number 1 now.
And they're favored by 11. They're favored against anybody. They play Northwestern, who's handled them too.
Top 5 is Frost, Norvell, Mike Leach at Mississippi State, who has kind of just been forgotten about, really.
Yeah,
They've kind of just faded into the background. Jeff Scott at South Florida and Jeff Brom at Purdue. Those are the top 5 coaches.
Brom was a hot name for a while.
But with Wells, I think that's going to be tough to really reverse their fortunes with the way things are going. But that Miami game last night, I mean, gosh, you talk about a layup, and they had a little bit of a comeback because Virginia just started, faltering basically, dropped a touchdown pass, and then ended up not being able to score there, and that really killed them. I mean, a perfect opportunity to catch a touchdown, guy just drops it. But yeah, they gave Miami life, and then to have that field goal, just a gimme lined up and shank it, was so Miami.
Very Nebraska-like.
Miami and Florida State will be the worst. This will be the worst game in the history of that rivalry.
Yeah, no, you're right, because that used to set the tone.
It's
all right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Great stuff.
It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Yankees are 2 games up on the Red Sox and Mariners.
Yeah, the Mariners are there. Sold out tonight.
Yep. Yankees
in Seattle.
In the wild card races. We hit the final weekend of the baseball regular season. Armstrong Sims, thank you so much, sir. Jack McKenzie is